Alrighty, guys. Good morning to you all here. It is Friday, June 20th, 2025. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. And we've got a very dangerous potential day ahead here, a conditional dangerous day for significant tornadoes, large hail, and extremely significant damaging winds on the table today for the high plains across the Dakotas, across Minnesota, across Wisconsin, and even up into Canada. We could see a tornado outbreak unfold later on today here. We're going to break that down for you guys. We've also got a significant summer heat wave that's going to cause heat indexes to climb into the 100s, potentially as high as 115 or 120 for portions of the Ohio River Valley, the high plains, the Midwest, and even getting into the Southeast later on at the end of this weekend and going into next week. So a lot of things to break down here. Big pattern change on the way here. We're going to kind of give you guys all the information here. I will let you guys know we will be live to cover tonight's event here for a good bit of time. I do have a run I have to go to tomorrow morning, so I won't be on all night long. We will be on to cover majority of today's event for you guys. It will not start until later on tonight. So we're going to walk through that timing, get you guys out the door here. If you are up in the high plains, you need to be weather aware today. You need to have alerts on your phones. You need to know where to go when you get tornado warnings. Today could be a very dangerous day if things do in fact play out the way that some of our guidance is showing that it could potentially play out. We'll start out with today here. We do got showers and complex of thunderstorms moving on here across Iowa, moving into Illinois. There's a little marginal risk attached to that here. Most of that will be out of here by later on this afternoon as that boundary shifts to the east here. Showers and thunderstorms along the east coast here. Not much going on. That system up here in the northeast also leaving. Other than that, we are going to be pretty quiet here. We'll have a little chance of some severe weather back down here off New Mexico and Colorado, but our main event is going to be back up here into the high plains. We're going to go ahead and walk you guys through that event here and kind of talk about what we're going to see for today here. And the Storm Prediction Center does have a level 3 risk out of 5 here, level 2 risk and level 1 risk, with that enhanced risk being for portions of eastern Montana back into North Dakota here and getting into Minnesota. A level 2 slight risk outside of that there in the yellow, and a marginal risk outside of that as well, with a marginal risk in Iowa and a marginal risk along the four corners here later on this afternoon. Outside of that there in the light green, we do see a general thunderstorm risk, but mostly everybody will be ridging out here as we will see the hottest temperatures of the year as we go into today, going into tomorrow, and much of early of next week here. I want to start out with the tornado threat today. This is the first time, guys, in many weeks here that we've actually had an outline 10% hatched tornado risk from the Storm Prediction Center. So if you are in Bismarck, we get towards Fargo, North Dakota, Moorhead, Minnesota. We've got Jamestown, North Dakota. You guys are in that 10% hatch tornado risk here. This is northern and central Minnesota and northern portions of North Dakota here. We could see a couple of strong EF2 plus tornadoes in that 10% hatch tornado risk area there. Grand Forks, you're just outside of that. Fargo, you're in that. Bismarck, you're in that 5% tornado risk outside of that there, and a 2% outside of that. A big day for tornadoes today if storms can stay discrete or semi-discrete and latch onto a very favorable environment. Probably one of the most favorable environments for tornadoes I've seen up in this area all year this year personally. So we'll talk about why that is here in just a second. We do have a hatched wind threat as well. I will let you guys know in advance. All of our hazards today are hatched, meaning they are maximized at enhanced criteria. So if something changes in the next couple of hours and the Storm Prediction Center needs to, they could upgrade to a level 4 moderate risk if they need to. I don't think that's going to happen today. It's very conditional, meaning things may happen or they may not happen. But if it were to increase over the next couple of hours before storms fire off tonight, we could see a level 4 moderate risk for whatever hazard introduced, just given, the environment that's in place today. But we do have a 30% hatched wind threat across the region here from eastern Montana through North Dakota and into Minnesota and up to Canada here, and even as far as UP, Michigan. Duluth, Grand Forks, you guys could see winds up and above of 80 to 90 miles per hour if a Boeing line of storms does develop in this area. 5% outside of that and a 15% outside of that for wind up to 70 miles per hour. We also do have a hatched hail threat for 30 and 15% hatched regions here across the same area here. You could see hail in excess of 2+ inches in diameter, which I do expect that to happen initially as these storms do in fact fire off, and even within clusters you could see some very large hail. Outside of that, a 5% for both regions that are highlighted there as well for hail up to 1 to 2 inches in diameter. I'll get to what that's going to look like here in just a second here. We do go to tomorrow and not much of a change here. Another shift here with a risk for severe weather on top of our ridge. Remember, we're going to have a huge heat dome developing here with a high pressure system down at the bottom. Ridging will allow for troughing to develop on top of that ridge. So therefore, we're going to see a marginal and a slight risk. This goes from UP, Michigan back into Michigan and up into New York tomorrow. We could have an isolated tornado threat, a damaging wind threat, and a hail threat. That 2% tornado risk is kind of scattered here. We got to watch North Dakota and northeastern Montana there, and we've also got to watch UP, Michigan up near Marquette, up towards northern Michigan, getting into Buffalo, New York, Scranton, Birmingham, getting up here into Watertown, New York, Rochester. So we will have an occasional 2% tornado risk tomorrow. Wind threat at 15 and 5 for winds up to 70 miles per hour, and the hail threat is also going to be at 15 and 5% for 1 to 2 inch diameter hail. We're not done after that, guys. We got another severe weather threat at play again on the day 3 outlook for your Sunday. We've got a slight risk here that goes from Grand Forks all the way down here into central Nebraska and back up into Minnesota. Marginal risk outside of that there, and then another marginal risk along the east coast there with, once again, general thunderstorms developing underneath our high pressure ridge that will be ongoing. Even though it's going to be hot and gross, we're still going to see storms out there under that ridge because convection initiates with high dew points and heat. And so that's what we're more than likely going to get, but it will be on the lesser side of severe potential there. The hazards right now, like I said, will be kind of be determined going into Sunday's event, but we'll keep you guys updated on that as things change. And then going through the day 4 through 8 outlook here, we don't have anything as of right now, but I will let you guys know we will more than likely have severe weather consistently be kind of in this area here going through next week here, as we will continue to have a ridge down here. A significant trough could develop going into early next week, and that will allow for maybe the chance for a couple more severe weather events before we really start to kind of end our troughing as we get closer and closer to July here. So that's what I've got for you guys there. We'll talk about what we're going to see here. And I mentioned to you guys, we have a capping inversion, a huge capping inversion. It's basically a temperature inversion aloft the mid levels of the atmosphere that allows for storms to have struggling issues to fire off in, to, develop in. And so that's just basically a warm nose. So temperatures want to see kind of a balance, or storms want to see a balance where we don't have so much warm air overriding the cold air. And so currently right now, that's what we're seeing. But some of these storms, if they do fire off, which we are expecting they will, especially back up here into the enhanced risk area and the slight risk area, we could see strong tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail, all three significant here. But the biggest thing is going to be if we can get a supercell to fire off back down here into central Minnesota, maybe up here into South Dakota and southern portions of North Dakota, we could actually get an intense to violent long track tornado in this area. Now, the odds of that happening right now are probably very slim. If you've seen them shift that risk zone to the north there, but it's not out of the question here if that capping inversion were to break somewhere and we do get a supercell that fires off and can overcome the environment. A strong tornado would be possible, even though we don't have that risk zone maximized down here to those southern portions there. So something to make note about there. But other than that, we'll kind of play the radar right here and show you guys what's going to happen. I will let you guys know this is going to be a late evening event tonight, so we're probably not going to get on live stream until about 6 to 7 p.m. tonight when this event gets going here. But showers and supercells initially here. A strong tornado can't be ruled out around 6 to 7 p.m. later on Central Time tonight across Montana, northern South Dakota here, southern North Dakota as well here. A couple of large hail supercells here with a chance at producing a strong to intense tornado, potentially a very volatile environment today. We'll see that around 6 to 7 p.m. and then those supercells a long track, and then we'll get a cluster, kind of an arc of supercells develops up here in North Dakota and northern Minnesota. And these could also pose a threat for significant damaging winds, large hail, maybe even a couple intense tornadoes later on. You can see a couple more supercells up here. This is where we typically see this time of the year. A lot of these severe weather events do produce significant tornadoes. So if you are in the Dakotas here in Minnesota, you need to have an action plan in place today, because today could be a very long day, or I should say a very long night, because this is going to be well past midnight tonight that these storms are going to be ongoing in today. Once we get past about 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning, that'll continue to work its way east. Clusters of storms moving through Minnesota, moving up into North Dakota, and then eventually this moves into northern Wisconsin, portions of UP, Michigan, and getting into Canada later on in the morning hours. And then tomorrow we'll have another round of storms that'll be coming through, potentially giving us an isolated severe weather threat, although tomorrow seems more conditional than what today is. I'll show you guys the instability values for today as well here. Continue to see an extreme buoyancy atmosphere today. We've got instability values this afternoon pushing 6,000 joules per kilogram. That is way more than enough instability to keep things going. But like I said, there will be a capping inversion. So if we were looking at a non-capped environment today, we would 100% have a high risk on the table, I think, personally. But with that capping inversion, that's what's allowing today's to be a little bit more on the conditional side of things. So that's our instability for today. If we look at our tornado parameters, you're like, why are we not seeing a tornado outbreak? This is insane. The reason why that is because of that capping inversion. We have maxed out tornado parameters for pretty much most of Minnesota here, central Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota. And if any storms can develop in this region today, would not be a good thing to see. It would be a very volatile situation. We could be looking at a very, very large tornado, if not a couple, if something were to fire off. And it's not out of the question. It's just very, very confidence is not there in that happening there because of that inhibition in our capping that we're going to be seeing. More of that potential severe weather threat will be up here. But even if some of these storms can tap into this low-level shear later on this afternoon and tonight, we could once again still be spelling trouble across this region here. So something to be very, very mindful of here. I'll just kind of show you guys a sounding. We'll just take a sounding here and take a sample of this and what the atmosphere looks like. And STP is maxed out here. A beautifully elongated hodograph here. Very favorable tornado environment. Extremely favorable tornado environment. Your low-level winds are just stretched all the way out of the southwest here. You got that counterclockwise spin in the lower levels here, which is going to allow for tornado genesis to happen. 81 over 74 dew point over temperature here. A little bit less of a capping the further north you go, but still just a beautiful, beautiful hodograph today to support the threat for violent long track tornadoes. Hopefully that does not happen, but that's what our environment is giving us for today. You'll see those tornado parameters dissipate after midnight tonight as that low-level jet goes eastward there, and those storms continue to work east. So something to kind of make mindful of there. I will talk more about tomorrow's severe weather threat once we get to today's and tomorrow's video, just because tomorrow's still a little bit uncertain on what's going to happen as well, but I wanted to get this out to you guys. But just something to be mindful of today. Know where to go when you get alerts on your phones. It could be a very long evening tonight in the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. Hopefully it's not the case, but we could see a pretty big day today if things do in fact break through the cap. The biggest thing we're really going to be talking about after this weekend is going to be the heat wave, guys. We've got a huge ridge that's going to be developing back down here into the plains, and eventually what this high is going to do is it's going to move right to the northeastern. It's going to set up shop over the Ohio Valley. We just got heat advisories last night for heat indexes here in our backyard of up to 110, maybe even 115. So extreme heat of the first time of the year here going to be moving in, and you can see that ridge just kind of sitting here over the Ohio Valley through Sunday, through Monday, through Tuesday, through Wednesday. But we do have to watch what could be a pretty potent trough that ejects on Sunday and Monday. And if this does happen, we do need to watch for the threat for once again severe weather across the high plains, getting up into the central plains into Sunday and into Monday here. Could actually look at a decent day for severe weather on Sunday if things do in fact happen here, and we'll kind of talk a little more about that when we get into tomorrow's video and going into Sunday. But nevertheless, there significant troughing through about Monday. There we'll see another little shortwave trough kick in, and then after that, guys, look at this. We're talking all the way through next Wednesday, next Thursday, still looking at a heat dome in place here. Even some troughing starting to kind of diminish here, allowing for just really summer to set in here. It is officially the first official day of summer today. This is actually the longest day of the year. If you guys do not know that, we'll start to lose daylight after today by about 4 minutes a day. So just enjoy it today. Enjoy it today. Get out there. Enjoy the longest day if you guys are out there. Going into the end of next week here as well, continue to see high pressure just dominate along the East Coast here. We could see some troughing return going into late next weekend, but that's still a little bit uncertain on what's going to happen because that's over 8 to 9 days out. We'll kind of take a look at that then, and then going into the July 4th holiday potentially here, looking at a pretty quiet, mostly active pattern, quiet to slightly active pattern from the Ohio Valley back up to the plains here going into that first week of July. But we'll talk more about that there in the future. What I want to show you guys is some of these heat indexes that are going to be going into the next couple of days here. These heat indexes are going to be just rocking triple digits, 90s across the board going into Saturday. We've got these heat indexes are pushing on Sunday here, upper hundreds, 107 in central Illinois, Springfield, hundreds up into Iowa, getting into western Kentucky here. I mean, guys, it's going to be brutal heat the next couple of days here, and really going into next week as that ridge sits in place. I think our hottest days are going to be both on Sunday and Monday of this weekend here, and then we'll continue to see that ridge build. That's really through much of next week here. Those heat indexes are going to be in the 90s to triple digits, so you need to be hydrated outside. The dew points are also going to be gross. It's going to feel sticky. It's going to feel gross. Overnight lows are going to be in the 70s to 80s for a lot of people. Temps are going to be in the upper 90s to 100s for actual temps, so it's just going to be gross. You can see the dew points that are going to allow for the mugginess over the next couple of days. It's just going to be a very, very long week of summer here as expected here, and we'll probably continue to see this pattern as we go into July and going into August, but just kind of something to note here in terms of that. I will let you guys know I'm going to try and get out a live stream early this afternoon to kind of give you guys an update on what's going to happen here in live context before we have our update stream tonight or our live coverage tonight. If you guys don't see me in that live stream this afternoon, we'll be on tonight around 6 to 7 p.m. to give you guys some live coverage for a couple hours. But other than that, guys, be safe, be weather aware, know where to go when you get alerts, know where your safe place is, and we will see you guys later on this afternoon. Be safe, y'all.